Welcome back to the Coach Business School podcast. My name is Andy Ramage. I'll be your coach, your trainer, your guide for this week's conversation. And this is a big topic. This is one of my favorite topics because it's where I do a lot of my coaching. I work with professional athletes that are coming towards the end of their career or thinking about their career after it comes to an end and want to transition into a new life of meaning and purpose and abundance. Brilliant coaching niche. That's part of my story. I work with all our coaches to find their coaching niches. It's a big part of what we do, especially on our MBA course. Helen Alfano is one of the great coaches that's part of our MBA course, who also has a background in professional sport, working with some of the world's best athletes to achieve Commonwealth gold. She's got a wonderful story. But the combination of our two experiences really ignites a really deep and meaningful conversation about this topic, which is, I believe, if you look at the world of sport, most sports people, men and women, now have mindset coaches, right? Because the world of sport, the big business of sport, has figured out that when you work with someone on their mind, it's as important, if not a lot more, and most sport would argue a lot more, than the physical component of sport. And the big business of sport works on minds and bodies because it realizes that if their athletes win, then it's good for the big business of sport. Now, contrast that with big business, for example. And I do a lot of coaching in the world of broking and trading, or law, or legal professionals, or sales, or insurance, whatever it might be. Let's just say high-end elite business professionals. Here you have a group of people that are just as capable, if not a lot more capable, due to the longevity of their career, of generating significant revenue. I would argue in a lot of shapes and forms they have zero support or zero coaching. Now, sport always leads the way. Therefore, if the great athletes are all getting mindset coaches, it makes sense that our top business professionals also have mindset coaches. And myself and Helen make a really strong argument for this. And this is why we're both doing a lot of coaching in the world of elite business, because elite business is figuring out the same thing that sport has, that to help their professionals with a coach helps them get even better results, which is great for the business, great for the individual, great for everyone all round. And the minuscule investment in a coach is worth 1,000 times that in terms of their improved performance of their staff, organizations, and so forth. So this is the conversation that we're going to get into today with Helen. Hopefully you're going to enjoy this one. And a reminder, this is always brought to you by my Coach Business School, where we train the next wave of successful coaches. So if you're thinking about coaching, this is a great conversation for you. And also go to the coachbusiness.school, where we've got a treble accredited diploma in positive psychology and coaching psychology. I have a master's degree in positive psychology. This is the bedrock, the foundation of elite level coaching. It's the science of self-help, essentially. So go to coachbusiness.school. And if you're already a qualified accredited coach, come and train with me to learn everything I know about business and marketing on my Coach MBA. This is for those that have got a handful of clients or a few more or even hundreds of clients that want to take their coaching business to a whole new level to create a life of abundance, contribution, joy, love, and laughter. What could be better than that? Go to coachbusiness.school. Okay, let's get into today's great conversation with the brilliant Helen Alfano. Helen, welcome to the show and the podcast.
Thank you. Very nice.
I think that's the first time normally when I start this intro, I just burst out laughing. I don't know. It's not a good start to the podcast. It's like a surprise that you. I think it's because we've been doing some training on the board.
Yeah.
And then we sit down and it feels like we're starting the conversation again, which doesn't quite feel right.
Yeah.
Because we've just been chatting for an hour.
Yeah. Let me officially welcome you.
Yes. No, officially.
The second official welcome.
To the showroom.
Perfect.
So what I want to do with you today, really just explore a bit your background into coaching first and foremost, as I tend to find most people have a bit of a story as to why they fell into coaching. I don't know if that's the case for you, but I'm looking forward to finding out. So what brought you to the profession of coaching?
So there's probably two strands to it. So the first one was actually, I kind of fell into it a little bit. My first exploration into coaching was actually coaching elite athletes. So I've always been into sport, always worked in sport, too many years to tell
Was
you
you
about.
a sports person yourself?
I was, yeah. I was an okay gymnast.
What sort of gymnastics?
Rhythmic, actually.
Cool.
You know, the ribbons, the hoops.
The flips and all the...
Yeah, the balls, all the equipment.
What's the American Biles?
Oh, no, Biles, Simone Biles.
Simone Biles.
Yeah, I started in that. That's artistic. And then I went into rhythmic. So I was just throwing ribbons in the air. And,
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go.
It's cool. All right, so did you do that at an elite level?
No, it was only, sort of national level. And then, but like always interested in sport, was very active. Loved like sport, science stuff at school, basically. Had a great PE teacher.
That does make a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, massively.
When you get that teacher that you gel with, in whatever subject, you see that so often, don't you? That it makes a real difference. It's a bit luck of the draw, isn't it? And unfortunately, many teachers are not very good. Some are okay. And you get the exceptional one.
Yeah, and then this person just sparked my interest in like human biology, essentially, which is a lot of what sports science stuff is. Like and physical, like how do you get the best out of people, basically, and the best out of yourself, which is probably what I've been doing for the last 20 years now. But yeah, so I went to do a degree in sports science, loved it, did a master's in exercise physiology, and then I was really, really fortunate, went straight into like elite sports settings, started in a rugby team, and then into kind of Paralympic sport, doing kind of sports science, physiology, all about kind of optimizing human performance, essentially.
Was that from a physiological standpoint?
Yeah, physiological. So the degree was kind of a bit of everything, but I focused in on the physiological stuff. And then maybe about 10 years into that, I'd met my husband. Wasn't quite my husband then yet, and we made a move, and I left a role that was up in Scotland doing that with with the elite athletes up there, and I was like, I'll get another job, I'll be fine. And then actually there's not that many jobs in sports science at an elite level. And I loved the data stuff, but what I enjoyed most was the interaction and the supporting the athletes and the people around the sport. And just fell into a different opportunity. They were called performance lifestyle advisors at the time, but in the Institute of Sport in the UK. And started on that with netball and taekwondo at the time. And
there's a winning combo right there.
Yeah, interesting. Although we did have a netballer who had been a taekwondo player. Yeah, I've worked with her for a number of years now. So yeah, you have to be careful because she can kick you in the head and throw a ball in your face very hard. So yeah, you have to be careful. But and then just kind of the whole role was supporting wellbeing for athletes and trying to optimise kind of their whole lifestyle. Thinking about like having careers, dual careers, getting them to balance uni and their sporting commitments, focusing on kind of how they, not the performance psychology side of things, but how do they optimise all those other bits around. And I guess the underpinning principles are all coaching principles.
Yeah, effectively,
Yeah. And then I'd been in that role for a little while and got made a leader, basically. Kind of as most people get made leaders, they're great at their jobs and what they do. The team like them, and then it's like, okay, here, go do some leadership. So started to lead the whole science and medicine team in the sport of netball. And I think that probably just...
And when you say that, do you mean like broadly in the UK or an individual team?
England Netball it was. Yeah.
Oh, right, very good.
Yeah. And yes, so found myself kind of like...
When did they... I'm just jumping in here because I'm interested. When did they win... Was it the Commonwealth Games?
It was.
Were you involved in that?
I was.
That was one of the best sporting...
Amazing.
Just talk us through that.
I'm so glad you asked about it.
Absolutely bloody brilliant.
Yeah,
I've got two girls who are both netballers.
Oh, really?
Big time netballers.
Are they?
Absolutely love it,
amazing.
So I love the sport of netball.
Yeah.
Actually, I wish it was it's predominantly female sport. I assume there is an opportunity for men to play, but I'd say
mixed.
It feels quite rare. But I love it as a sport. It's brilliant when it's done well.
At international level, it's incredible. It's an incredible game.
So please tell us about that, because I know we're talking coaching, but still.
No. So I was,
part of that.
So I'd been performance lifestyle kind of coach with those guys. Probably for 3 or 4 years in the lead into that, and maybe a year out from that was when I took the leadership position. So I was working full time with them across those kind of 2 roles, and that was an incredible moment. Like, we've been working towards that for a long time, but to go to Australia and steal it from them.
Just tell people exactly what happened.
So, essentially, we won it in the last seconds of the game with the very, very last shot. We won the whole Commonwealth Games, which we hadn't done. Oh God, if England had done it before, it was a long, long time ago. Yeah. But it had been the leadership team of which I was part of. That had been the goal, the target the whole time. The way netball works is it's not an Olympic sport, so the Commonwealths is our absolute pinnacle.
Is the elite. Yeah, it's a pinnacle.
And then we have a World Cup as well the next year. So that was our kind of pinnacle, and it was on the Gold Coast in Australia. Oh, it was magical.
That was absolutely mind-blowingly sport at its best.
Yeah,
I just love those moments that sport can deliver, that you couldn't write the sort of script of those things. It's like, how does that happen?
No,
in
incredible.
Such a way.
Incredible. A lot of hard work, but then a lot of things go your way. We had an incredible team, a really good leadership team, both on court and off court, and that made a hell of a difference. But actually, really interestingly, like, we had a great staff team, like really great individuals, but probably a little bit dysfunctional as a team.
Right. In terms of the leadership team around the athletes?
The support team, yeah.
What does that mean?
So that's like the physio, performance analysis, nutrition. Yeah. Like, there's quite a lot of people involved in supporting like a performance like that, essentially. And we had loads of great people in those positions. I guess my role was bringing them all together. But we probably weren't great from a collaboration perspective.
Right.
And interestingly enough, we did loads of work in the space, and we worked really, really hard at saying, okay, how do we perform as a staff team as well in this environment? Because it's different, right? Suddenly you go into Commonwealth Games, you're part of Team England, like there's swimmers, there's basketball players, there's taekwondo players, there's every other different sport as well. We had a lot of the team who hadn't experienced that before, but also there's a lot of pressure. You have to go away, you have to live away from home with people, like sharing rooms, and they might not be your best friends or what have you. And that team has to perform as much as the girls do on the court as well. So we did a huge piece of work about, like, what are our performance principles? What are the things that we absolutely want to deliver? And we have to stick to as a team to be able to perform credibly in this space and give ourselves the best chance of supporting those guys to perform as well. So we had these kind of 5 principles of delivery, one of which was inspired by I think it was Mano Tuolangi when he threw himself off the ferry at a World Cup or something a little while before, and we had one of our principles was stay on the boat.
Right, yeah, stay on the boat.
Whatever happens, stay on the boat. Don't be that person. So it was fascinating. But, it was such an interesting leadership journey for me because I'd just gone in, just taken on that kind of role and trying to get everybody to get singing on the same hymn sheet. But, incredible achievement, incredible.
Was your PhD built around some of that learning, or was that prior?
Yeah, no, it was after. Well, I was kind of doing it during, but afterwards. But a lot of the direction of that came from probably in the moment that I had as a leader. After it was like, what next? Now what? Because we had this kind of, I guess, this North Star, this focus, this thing we were trying to achieve. We had as a netball team, we had our next thing that we needed to achieve or wanted to achieve, which was medalling at the World Cup, which was a year later. But as a kind of science and medicine team, the team that I was leading, it was like, okay, we've got everybody staying on the boat, on the same boat, pointing in the same direction, kind of now what, how do we, and where do I start? if that makes sense as well, because I had great individuals. We still needed to come together probably a little bit better as a team. And there was a bit of overwhelm probably in terms of like, actually, where do I start?
Yeah.
Like, do I start leading the individuals? Do I start trying to lead the team to come together? Which bit's more important for this person versus that person? Like, where do I lean? Where do I put my energy? And that drove some of the PhD actually, in terms of like, what is great leadership? What do people need to be able to perform really, really well, especially if you want them to perform as a team? Because that's kind of the pinnacle of thing. It's the pinnacle of sport on the court and off the court as well. The best work's done when people collaborate. And so I guess the PhD was about, okay, how do we optimise that best? And if you're going to be a great leader and lead these teams to great things, what are the things you need to give people?
And this is where the coaching then starts to really come in. That part of that support is not only that teaching, that awareness, but also the ability to coach those leaders or those professionals in a way that actually helps them to perform at an optimal level, just even if it's holding the space or raising awareness.
Yeah, or understanding kind of like what are just great principles, right, in this space, like as simple things like recognition. Like, how often do we stop and think about the recognition we give people? That came out massively in the PhD when I spent time talking to people, like what really helps you deliver the best you can deliver. So like actually, and we'd spoken a bit about reward, and everybody's like, no, reward isn't the thing. Because listen, some sports people make a fortune, but Olympic, like Commonwealth sports, not so much, not the support staff. It was about reward, and it wasn't about standing on a podium with people, but feeling like the leadership team, the people around, genuinely valued what people were doing. And some of those principles are so simple, but we can forget them as leaders. And I think the space that coaching holds is essentially creating the space for the other person to go, how am I doing at these things?
Yeah.
And where do I need to lean? Because if I'm always thinking about, oh, now I've got to recognise this person and give this person recognition, actually, what are the other bits I'm forgetting? And I think, like, I was fortunate to be on the end of some good coaching, somebody who helped me organise my thoughts around it. So I had this great understanding, kind of knowledge and principles and what constructs help, like psychological safety or role clarity, all those bits and pieces. But what I needed a coach to help me do was figure out, okay, but where's the priority? Where do I lean into? What's my next action? Where do I take that? And that's what I think great coaching does for people in these spaces, right?
And what's interesting in terms of the coaching opportunity as well is that you get all these teams within teams, and sometimes the focus is very much on the elite athletes, for example.
Yeah.
So a lot of the performance development, the coaching is around the elite athletes that are on the pitch, but actually around them, the support team, then their leadership teams, how are they performing?
Yeah.
Because it all filters down, doesn't it? And I think, again, the opportunity very often there, be it in business and in sport, because essentially once you get to that point, it's the same thing. Because it's not actually necessarily the performers on the pitch or whatnot. It's the structure around that, which is traditional business in many ways, you could argue. What support are they getting to run their own brains better? And very often they're those giving professions with a goal, and everything is done to help the athletes on the pitch, yet the leadership team are burning out, or their own ways that they're running their brains, their teams, is not optimal. So actually by optimising the teams and letting it filter down, almost that marginal gains, David Brailsford sort of approach, gets these huge results.
Yeah, and that team, like I said before, that team flourishing could be the difference between the people on the pitch flourishing as well or not. And you know, that group of people don't have their own nutritionists, their own psychologists. You know, they haven't got this huge support team around them. But the space I kind of work with some leaders now in the sporting arena is that space of like, okay, how do you keep yourself going? How do you keep yourself right? How do you look after yourself? You know, what does good wellbeing look like? What does it look like when you're looking after yourself and you're optimizing your performance to be able to perform for everybody else in and around you as well? And like burnout's a big thing in that sort of staff setting as well, you know, because there's never a stop moment in sport, right? Like probably most people in business and most businesses, there's no like, and we're guilty, you know, we work on weekends, we work on evenings, you know, there's no like done at 5 you clock out type thing. It doesn't, like sport definitely doesn't work like that. And I think because of that, there's a danger that people don't, you know, they forget to be normal human beings.
And look after themselves in a way that allows them to perform optimally. And I think that's where all these opportunities are in coaching, which is huge. Because there's so many people, be it in business, individually, in sport, that are underperforming whilst trying so hard to perform at a top level. But the irony is, by trying to do that without support, without knowledge, without understanding, without coaching, their performance is suffering because they just have got nothing left. They're in survival mode. They're just trying to get through it, as opposed to like thriving in that environment and really being optimal, because they're looking after themselves in terms of the way they run their brains, the way they look after their bodies. And it's like you get these gaps in business and in sport that just don't get looked after. It's like they get forgotten about.
And what's so fascinating is if that was an athlete, we would pick that up in an instant.
You
know, we'd be like, oh my gosh, like you haven't slept 8 hours. You know, quick, what do we need to do? What do we need to do here? You haven't hydrated. What have you drunk today? You know, and it's great and it's amazing, but absolutely, we all need that. And for me, like we should all be treating ourselves as elite athletes,
exactly
you know, and performers. And people have like all these ideas, and actually some of the stuff's really basic. It's really basic. Like, have you drunk enough water today? Because your brain, the way your brain operates, is dependent on how much fluid you have in your body. You know, have you fueled it well?
You've got all the data and the understanding for the athletes, but it's the exact same for the office athletes, effectively, that drink more water. Like really, exactly that. I think a lot of this is quite simple, isn't it? But overlooked.
Definitely. And but listen, I think that's probably in most realms, right? People get into this space where it's like, deliver, instead of like, how do I deliver my best and optimize my performance? You know, musicians, dancers, you know, surgeons even, you know, they're trying to optimize their performance and maybe so have a bit more of an eye on that. But I guess in wider business, it's equally as relevant, but people don't think of themselves as performers.
No, and what I found for all my years of coaching is that if you ask why enough, you pretty much get to the same place. What I mean by that is, if I'm working for Premiership footballer, and their big goal, I want to play for my country, for example, right? Big goal. Why is that important to you? You know, stature, blah, blah, blah. Why is that important to you? And if you keep going, you always get to the same place, which is pretty much to be fulfilled and happy. You more or less end up there. And if you do the same with a business professional, why do you want to earn a certain amount of money or achieve a certain level in your career? Why? To be fulfilled and happy. Therefore, if you get to the root of it, both goals are just as valid. Yet the athlete treats their goal with total respect, usually, and they will optimize everything to achieve that goal. Where I would argue most business professionals treat their goals with total disrespect. You know, drink too much, don't run their brains well, don't building proper recovery, don't have any boundaries in their life, don't train to optimize their thinking or their physiology, like don't do anything. Yet the goals are just as important. Whether it's to win the World Cup or it's to, you know, make that sale. Net, underneath it all, they're just as important. And I think coaching can help people reconnect with that. And that's where some of it gets its power. It's like, what are your values? What are you trying to achieve? What are your goals and dreams? Why are they any less important than the athletes? And when there's a connection to that, it's like, maybe I will actually take more time to focus on just simple things like water and nutrition. And even like I look at some of the elite business professionals I work with, a bit like the leadership team, and I go, look at your day. It's a 12-hour day. You're on the go to 12 hours. That's like an Ironman. Now imagine approaching an Ironman every single day, like 5 days a week. You'd have to be on point with your nutrition, your recovery, your water, you know, like your rest time, running your Don't do any of that. Just rock up, fuel ourselves usually with alcohol, coffee, rubbish food, poor sleep,
Yeah.
and expect to be able to do that for 10 years.
Yeah.
You just can't. That's why people fall over and burn out.
But equally, there's also probably the people who then do take on an Ironman and focus loads on that stuff. And it's almost, absolutely, yeah. And I think the other thing that I see is in sport, we're great at setting goals and reflecting and reviewing them on them all the time. I think even the other space that coaching can hold is not just helping articulate the goal, but what are the bits to get there? What are the elements and the processes, and how do we, what are your stepping stones, and who is helping you hold yourself accountable, but also who's helping you reflect on them and refine them. And again, that's something we do really well in sport with the athletes. Maybe not so well in some of the support staff spaces, but I see parallels in kind of that space. Even once you've set the goal, coaching is great for going, okay, now where am I going towards that goal? What's my next bit? How do I get there? Not just I've got this great goal, but actually there's some stepping stones.
And then also working through those barriers of the mind, which are ultimately the barriers pretty much for everyone, whether it's sport or business. And I think the bit that I guess I've identified over the last few years, especially in business, is running those two parallels between sport and business. The athlete and the broker, the athlete and the trader, sales professional, whatever it might be, C-suite, and making that direct comparison all the time. Look, here we have these athletes that can perform at a really high level, and they're given all of this support. And the reason invariably they're given all that support is because there's a big business, not always, but often, that sits behind it. So I run the parallel of the professional footballers that I work with. So the organisations, the teams, the Premiership clubs, they want to provide their athletes with all of that optimal support, because what they know is if they perform well on the pitch, it's good for the business of sport. The truth is they're not doing it out of the goodness of their own heart. They're doing it because ultimately sport is a big business, certain arenas of sport. So there's a reason for them doing that. Then I contrast that with most big businesses in the City of London, for example, where you've got lots of elite performers. I'm like, here you've got elite performers. Let's say it's a trader or a broker or a reinsurance, whatever it might be, law. You've got these elite performers capable of significant revenue generation, just like our professional footballers, for example. By and large, they have zero support. Not even a bit.
No.
Not even like one bit of training ever about running their brain, optimizing their performance since they joined this firm 30 years ago. And you wonder why longevity suffers, and everyone's got to get out of these businesses quickly and try and make as much money as they can, because they just can't do it anymore. And that retention gets burnout is really prevalent. Poor behavior on their part and running their brains in the most suboptimal ways, turning to drink and drugs to try and manage all the stress. Zero, not even one bit of support. It's bananas. And when you unpick that, and you've got forward-thinking organisations like I work with, they see that, it's just so obvious. It's like, why are we not doing this? This is completely nuts.
And then the smallest changes, right?
That
make the biggest difference, not only to that person, how they feel, how they show up, how they perform, what they deliver, but to that wider business piece as well. And it's incredible. It feels like such a big gap, right? It feels like
just
such
so
a big
obvious,
gap.
and you see it in sport. But what's interesting, even in sport, the gap is there once you leave the professional athlete, because then you go up to the leadership team or the management, and they're falling in the same trap again. Which is to not actually support those layers to be optimal, because that will funnel down. And in business, what I'm seeing, which is really exciting, more and more organisations are seeing this now. And they're bringing in people like myself, like yourself, to go in and actually use that sporting knowledge around our coaching, for example, and bring it into the business world, because they've figured it out. Actually, if we help our staff optimise their thinking, even if you just look at longevity, I'm such a massive believer in longevity. I think it's the biggest open goal in business. I know what it takes to get a really good person into your business, especially at those types of arenas I mentioned. And to lose a person like that is a massive hit on the business. But if everyone's burning out and they've got that mentality, I have to get out before a certain age or I'm going to break, what would it be like if you invested in support for those performers so they didn't break and they didn't have to leave the industry 5 years sooner than they would like, because they felt energized and optimized, could run their brain better, started to really enjoy what they did again with that freshness of better health and better mental well-being, and they stay in the business for another 5 years. What's that worth to the business? I know what it's worth, millions and millions and millions, versus investing in a coach to go in and be part of that. Like, and why leave it to chance? Invest in coaching, and that's physical coaching, like nutritionalists, psychological coaching. Almost give them the support that we give to our athletes so that they don't burn out. And then if you multiply that across a big organization, that is worth potentially hundreds and hundreds of millions. And it's totally overlooked at the moment.
And it's changing the mindset from, this is a get in, get out business, right? You come in, you go hard, and it's nuts, to actually come in, stay in, work well, work hard, work for longer, do better.
and enjoy it more. In a way that you run your brain, run your body in a way that you feel optimal. And we love to feel optimal, don't we? No one likes running on empty, slogging it out, trying to get through it, survival mode. Versus when you feel like radiant with energy and you're excited about your day. And of course, there's challenges within every business, and it's not always the time and of course, but to have a coach or an awareness, and I think a lot of it is awareness.
Oh, absolutely. You could get up and spend the morning, and you might have done 6 things that have already detracted from your performance. You don't even know it. You know, and your brain also might be in a space when you walk in that it's detracting as well. And then it's like, okay, well, we're 6 steps behind where we should be, or we could be. And that's the exciting bit, right? That's the space that's, I think, really exciting. And like you say, where there's people that are going to lean into it, they're going to have the edge. Like sport, there's this kind of whole idea of marginal gains. And for me, this is a space. This is a space for business marginal gains, absolutely. Like, what can we learn from what we deliver to those athletes in that space? And, you know, in sport, we've moved from a kind of win at all cost medal to a win well model. Do that well, because you can have people who feel great, look great, are doing great, and are performing optimally. It's a no-brainer, right? It's a no-brainer.
That's the ultimate
100%.
win.
It's the big gap. There is a big gap, and so the people who harness it, I think, are going to be, you know, they'll be the people, the extra 1%. But that makes a difference, and whether that makes a difference in terms of hitting the shot in the last seconds and winning the Commonwealth Games, or whether it's the difference between making an extra million that year.
Or being the market leader in your industry, whatever it is. And I think that's what's starting to happen. More businesses are figuring this out. They're like, hold on. And I think sport always leads the way. Sport's brilliant for this in terms of performance of individuals. And I think business now are waking up to it in a way that I'm having conversations now that 5 years ago, people just wouldn't have even entertained. They would have gone like, what do you mean? Supporting our staff like office athletes, and I don't get that. We pay them enough money, they can figure that stuff out for themselves. But I'm like, that's the equivalent of saying, we play these Premiership footballers really well, they can sort out their own nutrition, they can sort out their own training. They'd never ever do that.
Who cares if they didn't sleep? Okay,
don't worry about it.
Everybody cares.
Like, exactly, they'll work it out. Like, you never leave that to chance. Of course you wouldn't. And I think there are some really, really top elite professions now that, again, are doing everything that I said, such as making sure, like in my organisation, when I set my brokerage up, first thing I did, drop all the dress code. We built a gym in the office, and we put a glass partition between where we were with our phones, because we're on phones all day, broking, so we could physically be in the gym, deadlifting, and hear our phones, because we had squat boxes clients can shout over. They'd be like, "Oh, yeah, Andy," and I'd be like, "Oh, 1 second." And I could run out of the gym because I'm in my gym kit, pick up a phone and do a deal or connect with a client. I mean, like, just those wins, that's the sort of energy that I think we need to bring to the city. And the lads thrived off it. And I go back into that business now. I stepped away from that business 7 years ago to start all these adventures, and they look incredible. There's guys that have walked into that office that were obese, right? Simple as that. And I went back there recently, and one of them is in the best. He looks amazing. I was like, "What have you been doing?" He went, "I'm just in that gym every day."
Brilliant.
Game changer.
But people care about people who care about people as well, right? And that's part of it too. It's like demonstrating, actually, I care about you and your longevity, not only in this business, in this place, but that person's whole lifestyle, right, changes, right? They have more energy outside of work as well, more energy to play with their kids, to engage in their relationships, whatever else, to go and see the world, whatever it is that motivates them, but also, hopefully, longevity of health and wellness as well into old age, right?
And this is where coaching gets its power, because people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And I would argue, maybe less with athletes. I think they're definitely a lot more conscious and aware of these things. But especially in the business world, people are so busy doing the business thing, whatever that is, their career, running the kids, running their careers. They don't have the time, by and large, to read the books.
Yeah.
To do the study, to do the research, or the time to pause and have a conversation to become aware of the things that are detracting or depleting their energy or getting in the way of their performance. So when a coach comes in, it's like this magic that always amazes me, because I always, in my mind, especially if I'm going into certain establishments, I think, they're going to know, they're going to be really on top of all these things, just because, it's elite professionals, they've obviously gone to the best schools, the greatest universities in the world. By and large, they have not got a clue.
Yeah.
Not, again, because they're not really educated, really dynamic people. They just have not had the time to focus on these things, or had the time to pause and reflect on these things. So a coach goes in, shows them these tools, techniques, or give them the awareness and the space to explore their own minds. And they're like, this is magic. This is what I need.
Yeah.
This is lighting me up, my performance transformed. And the bit you mentioned is the most important bit, and my mantra with it all. It helps us to become better people outside the office.
Yeah.
Because the skills you learn in coaching are not just applicable to the job, they're applicable to every domain in your life. Whether you're starting to manage your mind better so you don't react in certain ways to loved ones, for example, or you realise that you've got control over your beliefs which dictate how you feel about certain events. You're getting less agitated when the train is late. Like, these transferable skills, for me, I feel I've got a real role to play now for a lot of predominantly men I work with, young men, actually, to help them run their brains in a way so they become better men, better husbands if that's their setup, better parents if they've got children in their life, and brilliant at their job. That's for me what it is, what we're doing as coaches.
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing that really stands out listening to you then was about that, is that people can often articulate a goal, right? I need to lose weight, or I want to do this, but understanding how that works, right? How you might form a habit to work towards that, or whatever else, or it just allows people the space to go, how do I actually want to do this? That it's the how space for me, because a lot of people get to the what quite quickly, right? But it's the how space, and the how do I want to be here, and how do I want to get there, how do I want to be at home, like, and how do I want to get there, like, and who asks people that? Like, often we're left alone to kind of do that reflecting, right? You might listen to a great podcast that makes you think about that, but having somebody to work through that with you unlocks so much magic, right? And
that's that values piece again, isn't it? Just because, for the same reason, people don't have the time or the space unless a coach comes along. Invariably, occasionally people figure it out for themselves, usually the hard way. But it's just nice to have someone to guide you through that process, to go, actually, what is most important to me? And by the way, what is success? Like, what does that mean to me as an elite business professional? Is it a certain amount of money in the bank? But then what if, in the striving to achieve that, my marriage falls apart because I'm never at home? Is that success? What is most important? And it might be that in that reflective space that actually certain decisions are not made because they realise my family's the most important thing, which it is, by the way. And I love being able to do that work. And the great irony of it all is that in doing that work, it doesn't detract from performance. It has the very opposite effect. I see it continually. They start to perform at a whole new level because now they're really aligned with what's most important, rather than just assuming I've just got to do more, try and make more, and they're breaking themselves, and they didn't realise they were underperforming because they're burnt out. To suddenly they're going and they're courageous enough to go and watch the kids play netball. I mean, what a gift that is. And that was one of my big revelations as I went through this process was, I think my girls were about 5 and 7 at the time. And I was like, right, I'm going to optimize everything in my career. I stopped drinking alcohol. Like, everyone said, you can't do that. I'm like, well, just watch me. And I'm going to be successful with it. I wanted inner peace and outer success.
Nice.
I got this
like
from
that.
Nico, who's on our MBA.
Oh,
we
nice.
worked through this the other day, and I went, I really like that. And it was inner peace, outer success. And that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So I point blank refused to miss a netball game, to miss a class assembly. But the irony of that was, because I knew I was performing at a consistent level, I had total confidence in that. And that's the sort of confidence I want to instill in the people that I work with. You will never get that time back.
Yeah.
You can't get it back. And it goes so quickly. And by having that time, the netball match, which you might go, what's that got to do with performance? I think that's got everything to do with performance. To see your kids, to light yourself up, to know that you're working unbelievably hard for them and you're getting to experience the joy of it rather than missing out and feeling resentful. Companies that don't understand that make a big mistake in my book.
Yeah.
So you have to be courageous enough, but being able to work through that type of thing with a coach, get aligned with that, that's where performance suddenly starts to jump and people are like, how did that happen?
Yeah. But it's the principles of sport, right? We don't say, okay, here's a goal, we want to achieve it. So you work at it all hours of the day, all the time, and that's all you do. No, we say, right, here's some hard work you do. Then here's your recovery space for you. That's where you let your muscles regenerate. Yeah. That's where you recover your brain. That's where you think about something different. And then here's your space that's outside of sport, that allows you to do something completely different, it makes you more resilient overall, takes your brain away from things for a bit, gives you perspective. All those incredible things, like it leads totally back to that space, right? Of actually, there's a goal and there's a success that you're trying to achieve, but it's not at all costs. And actually, by it not being at all costs and by doing all those things well, recovering well, finding other spaces, keeping perspective, training your brain in the right way, you're more likely to get there.
Yeah, this is the
and
beautiful
get there
thing.
In a great space.
Yeah.
Get there and not be. And listen, how many sports people do we hear from? They get to the pinnacle and they're broken.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're very dysfunctional outside of achieving that one goal in their life.
Yeah.
And there's just carnage.
Yeah.
All around them.
And that's where this kind of win well idea now comes through, and we've always kind of done it from a physical perspective, I guess. Like, you can't just keep training for 12 hours a day. You train hard and you recover well. Now it's much more understood that that's from a well-being perspective as well, and a brain and a mind and having other things perspective as well. It's the recovery from that focus as well, and that's partly what the going to the netball game is, right? It's having your other the other things that we talk about, things that fill your bucket.
Yeah, brilliant.
In the netball team I work with at the minute, like, what does it fill your bucket? Like, what value add does it give you? And go and do some of that stuff as well.
So important.
Yeah.
And I can imagine, again, the typical city professional bucket that I work with is empty, and occasionally it gets filled with a pint of beer. That's it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, I missed that again.
Yeah.
The kids are asleep when I left the house. The kids are asleep when I get home. I'm stressed. I don't have anyone to turn to. It's lonely. Literally at every part of a business ladder, because you can't go up, you can't go down. So you just bottle it up. I'll just have a couple of pints. And then that becomes like, the bucket is full of stale beer, basically. Or stale wine.
And that's the thing, you tell yourself that's how you're giving yourself, give myself a break. I'll have, whatever it is. Doesn't matter whether it's alcohol or that bit of cake or whatever it is. Type thing. Like, I kind of deserve that space, and that's my space where I'm filling my bucket. But if you actually drilled into it, is that the thing that gives you pleasure and joy? And probably when you ask those questions, I often find it isn't. It's just another thing that they think they should do.
Yeah, but that is the key bit, is that reflective questioning to go, right, is it? And it might be that actually having a glass of wine with friends really does fill that bucket. Wonderful. But by doing that reflective work, you might find, actually it's the netball match, or it's the being home early, or it's going to the gym and making sure that I get up before work to exercise. Like, those small pieces, those marginal gains add up to huge performance gains. And then when you start to help people run their brains better, like, the difference it makes that I continually see in the business world is unbelievable. And I think everyone would, everyone gets it. Like if you ask most people, what is the secret to elite sport? It's our mind.
Yeah.
What's the secret to elite business? It's our mind. Like, what's the secret to life? It's our mind. Yet barely anyone is doing the work on their mind. I think lots of people have worked it out how to work their body. So they're trying to eat healthier or move a bit more, which is great. Meditation, great things. But actually doing the mind work, aligning your values, setting your goals, understanding your limits and beliefs, unpicking those with a coach. Everyone agrees it's the most important thing. Yet in many different arenas, no one's doing that work. And I think that's where coaching's so exciting for me. Because it's so embryonic. Everyone agrees it's the thing we need. They haven't just quite figured it out yet.
Yeah. Because I think the thing is as well, if you sit down on your own and go, okay, what are my values? You can't work. It's impossible. Like, it's not, but it's really blooming hard, right? But when you sit with somebody who asks you great questions, it just unlocks all of that space. And we know, like, knowing your values, knowing the value you add as well is really important to unlocking happiness and longevity of happiness as well. And we talk to that a lot in the sporting sense as well. So one of the big pieces of work I did last year with the team I work with at the moment was, okay, what value do you add that's not just about being on a court?
Yeah.
Like, what value do you bring here? And so it doesn't matter if you're injured, if it's a bad day, if you mess up that pass, it's not, because it's not the be all and end all, right? Which is equally what we're saying in the business space as well. It's not all the be all and end all, because actually if you've got the other stuff to fall back on, then that's great. You've got these values, but it's really impossible unless somebody stops and asks you that question and then gives you the space to reflect and the time to work through it. Really hard to articulate. What value do I bring?
Yeah.
Like, or even helps you direct, like, who could I ask that can help me answer that?
Be able to tell me, what is it that I do? And I think it's similar to people getting lost in their roles, and you see that a lot with athletes especially, but business professionals, exact same thing. They become their role. So they're just I'm just a professional footballer. I'm just a broker. And therefore their business takes them on this emotional roller coaster because they're defined by their business. Good day in the office, they're a good person. Bad day in the office, they're a bad person. Bad performance, bad person. Good performance, good performance. They haven't disassociated themselves from their role. And one of the work we always do in the coaching is, like, what other roles do you play?
Yeah.
And arguably, they're much more important roles than your sporting role or your broking or trading role. Being a parent.
Yeah.
Being a partner to someone, being a son, a sister, whatever your setup is, like, define those roles. And I work with a brilliant guy called Damien Valence. Damien Valence is the Springbok South African fly half or utility player. He's won 2 World Cups, this guy. He's incredible. And he has this brilliant saying, rugby is what I do, not who I am. Yeah. And I'm like, that's so skillful. Rugby's what I do, not who I am. And I think it's the same in every sport and business. Broking is what I do, not who I am. And when people get lost in that, I think that's when a lot of the problems occur. But because unless you get a break, work with a coach to unpick, you do get lost so easily. And then someone snaps you out of it. It's like, actually, you're right. What is most important to me? My family. I've completely lost myself in this role. I'm treating people like I treat my clients. See that all the time. Start to treat their partners, their children, like clients or, competitors, because they've just lost themselves. And it just sometimes need that reflective space to snap out. And again, you just get these growths in performance on the back of that.
And there's these moments of magic, right, when it clicks with somebody. Because when you actually ask somebody, okay, rank these elements of your life, it's really obvious, right? And everybody's, like you say, becomes the same list. But the magic it unlocks in making somebody do that is really powerful. I'm
going to give you some exceptions to that as well. And that is, I think, where certain business professionals and certain athletes are exceptional. And I'm not saying it's exceptional in their performance, but it's not functional in that I've run that. And my assumption is every time family's going to come out on top. And I've run that with certain performers that are, I'd arguably say, the world's best at what they do. So they'd be like the top scorer in the Premiership kind of level. And what surprised me, occasionally they'd be like, no, my job's more important. And I'm owning that all day long. In awareness, it wasn't a mistaken awareness. It was a full awareness of that is more important to me than my family. And you can't argue with that. That's exactly how they felt and how they operated. And of course, there was dysfunction around that, but it was quite surprising to see it at that very, very tiny elite level. And I think that's what we both find when you get some of these real performers. And of course, not all, it's a generalization. Some of them have flipped some of those core values in such a way that allows them to achieve incredible success on the sporting arena, on the business arena. But very often those principles are flipped. Now that's exceptional, but invariably what happens is people they have it the right way around, in my opinion, i.e. family top, but unbeknownst to them, it's flipped. And they're focusing more on the business than the family. Yeah. And I think that's why this is just all these little things. They're huge. These are transformative in people's lives, like their family life, their happiness. And what we see with athletes and as well as business professionals, too often, families break apart.
Yeah.
Health suffers, which you can't get back, all in the quest for a goal or an objective that actually with a bit of work around that, they could have still achieved that in a way that's, inwardly peaceful and outwardly successful.
Yeah. And that's the crux for me. You can still achieve it. You can still get there. You still get to that end goal. It doesn't have to be at the cost of all the other great stuff in your life and all the other thing that has meaning and will last sometimes a lot longer as well.
Yeah. We call it a wrap there. We could have gone on forever.
Yeah.
And we've gone a little bit over time as it is, just because I love that conversation. It was just so important. I think we'll do another conversation around that. I do believe there's so many parallels between sport and business and coaching in general. It's coaching sport, coaching, but it's the same thing. It's the same principles, or coaching individuals, that I think what sport does, and elite business, it sort of highlights the extremities, which then can filter down to the everyday hero. Because essentially it's the same thing. The everyday hero still loses themselves to their role. They might not be, lifting a World Cup. They might be like running the kids to school or whatever it might, and lose themselves. Actually, who am I? And we see so much of that. So this is definitely a conversation we need to come back to.
Yes, I'd love that.
I've absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Just in case people are listening, they're thinking, I'd love to hear more or get in touch with Helen. What's the best place for them to find you? Or where's the best place?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Brilliant.
Yeah, Helen Alfano, PhD. Very contactable.
Very contactable. All right. Excellent work. You did it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Work,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Once again, hopefully you enjoyed that conversation with Helen. And just a reminder that these episodes are brought to you by my Coach Business School. If you're interested in training with me to become an accredited coach, or you're already an accredited coach and want to learn everything about business and marketing, go to coachbusiness.school. Until next time, make sure to please subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, or follow along if you're listening to this on your favourite podcast provider. And please share these episodes into any groups or with anyone that might be interested in this adventure of coaching. Until next time, keep coaching your coach, Andy Ramage.